episode 178 of Coffee & Co-Read, your source for all things literary with Kristen
and Catherine, where we believe there's nothing better than a hot coffee and an awesome book. Join us for our virtual book club where we take one book a month and dive into all of the drama, adventure, and romance we can find. Hey, Kristen.
Hi, Catherine.
So, today we figured we would talk about the SJM Drafts
Gate.
ACOTAR 6-2.
The Arrowgate. Arrowgate.
Arrowgate?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, assuming by now that most people have seen it, or seen something about it, because it's been all over, I know, my Instagram for sure.
Yeah. So if you missed it, so Sarah J. Maas posted, I think it was just a picture? Or was it a reel?
It was a reel because she shot off some champagne.
So I guess she showed a little composition book, and on the cover it said ACOTAR Drafts, plural, like DRAFTS.
No, it said drafts it said ACOTAR.
Oh, ACOTAR 6.
Yeah.
And then what looked to be either an arrow. And then
dash
8. And then in the bottom it said ACOTAR Drafts done. Or something to that effect.
Something about drafts. It didn't say ACOTAR Drafts because I was like, is it going to be CC4 and ACOTAR 6?
Right. So I guess social media went off wild.
Yes.
Because they were like, she is an author. She wouldn't intentionally. Is it draft is done? So therefore there should be a comma between the draft and the S. Or is she insinuating that there is plural, meaning she has multiple novels completed?
I think it's only I think it might have said first draft. I really should have pulled it up before now. But first drafts done, I think is what it said. Oh, God. I guess I'll look.
Yeah. But, I guess that's sort of the issue. Everybody was popping off on theories because they were like, she is an author. She would not unintentionally make a grammar mistake of leaving out a comma if she meant the first draft is done. People were like, she is a technician of grammar, so she's not going to do that intentionally.
And I also feel like there's definitely other people checking her posts before she posts them. Especially, I don't know if everyone remembers this happening, but her husband posted something once, and in the background it said something about the ACOTAR TV show, and that's how it got outed that there was going to be a TV show, which has since, I think, died. Yeah. But it's just I don't think that she would make that mistake again. But yeah, it says first drafts done. Yeah.
So I guess there's all this kerfuffle over, is it the first draft of one novel is done or the first drafts of multiple novels are done? Mm-hmm. And then the composition book had ACOTAR 6 and then what looked to be an arrow, but it could have also been a messy -8. So people were like, oh my God, ACOTAR 6, 7, and 8. Although in my brain, I'm sorry, those composition books are tiny.
Yeah, which is why I was kind of like, I don't even think you'd fit all of 6 in
No,
there.
There's no way. And I'm sorry, is she handwriting?
I know. What?
There's no way she is handwriting her novels.
The only thing I can think is that book that she closed is her outline.
That's what I was
her
thinking.
Planning.
Yeah,
and then because she did have a laptop in the video too. She closes that book. She closes the laptop, and then she shoots off some champagne for the play-by-play for everybody.
Right.
I cannot imagine that she writes it by hand, and then unless she gets somebody else to type up the first draft, which is also insane.
Yeah, I don't know.
Wouldn't I like that job?
I would love that job. That would be a kick-ass
Only to read
job.
what she wrote, but yeah.
But But, like, okay, so here's my concern. So here's where I'm at with it.
Yeah.
My issue is that the theories, like, the only two issues are the fact that she said drafts plural.
Yeah.
And then the -8 as an arrow. I believe contradicting ideas because I don't think she would intentionally say drafts without the comma.
No.
I think that was intentional.
Yeah.
However, I don't think she's messy enough for that to have been a -8. So, like, that's where my brain is I believe the plurality, but I don't believe the -8. So, like, I don't know which one to believe.
But the -8, like you said, it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to have that much in a composition book. Like I can't imagine she outlined another trilogy in just that composition book.
But it is also weird to have an arrow being like Actar 6 arrow inside. Like, that is also equally weird.
Yeah, I do feel like when she's done with it, she probably writes something there.
Maybe.
Like, it could be, like, the third of 3 of 3, or, like, you know.
Right.
But I don't know. It is odd, and I do think that we're getting another Crescent City book before we're getting ACOTAR 7. Like, ACOTAR 6, would that be the next book?
That's
the other thing.
The next ACOTAR, but see, I guess that's the thing, though. So is ACOTAR 6 actually the next ACOTAR, or is ACOTAR 5 the next ACOTAR? Because
exactly.
Anybody will tell you that A Court of Frost and Starlight, which is technically the 4th book in the series, is not a full-length novel. It is a novella. Yes. So it is technically 4.5, or 3.5, sorry. It's not 4, it's 3.5, and then technically A Court of Silver Flames is 4. Yeah. So is 5 completely done and awaiting publication, because we've been told that is the next one. Yeah. And then we're going to get 3 more, 6 to 8. So then that's 4 more ACOTAR books? Like, as much as I love ACOTAR, and I would happily read all of it, I don't see how she's going to get 4 more books out of it.
Yeah, I don't know. There'd have to be a lot of bullshit happening that I don't want to happen.
Yes. And, like...
Of, like, crossover bullshit.
I do wonder if there... And, like, the next... I do wonder, like, is Crescent City... Maybe it's ACOTAR 5 coming out, then 6, then Crescent City counts.
Yeah.
And maybe then, like, technically ACOTAR... I don't know.
I'm not getting my hopes up that we're going to get 2...
ACOTAR books
in a row.
No, I don't think so either. But I also, like,
and maybe she calls the novella 4 because she wrote it 4th.
I don't know if she
does.
Like,
in her notes, we don't know. Like, does she have an ACOTAR 3.5? Arrow something? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, hang on. I'm just going to her website, and I'm seeing...
if it has the numbers by it?
Yeah.
While she's doing that, the other thing is, this has been a big kick in the butt for a lot of people to actually read Crescent City.
Yes.
Which is kind of funny. But yeah, you definitely need to read Crescent City before the next ACOTAR book.
Yeah, for sure. I've actually seen a lot of people ask if they need to read ACOTAR in order to enjoy Crescent City. And I feel like you do.
Yeah, that one I think you're going to have to read ACOTAR before Crescent City 4. But I think you could get through 2, maybe even 3 without reading it. But it's not worth it, I don't think. I think it's best to read it.
Yeah. Anyway, so they are not numbered on the website. So, that It's problematic.
And, like, even if she... Yeah, it's hard to say. But either way. Like, Goodreads, it is 3.5.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter what Goodreads says.
I know.
Anyway.
Yeah. So, lots of speculation. It is really just holding us over till we get an announcement of some sort. And my worry also is first draft. There's so much work after a first draft.
Yes.
So has she only been drafting a bunch of books, or however many, maybe even if it's only 2, however many books she's drafting? If she's just done the first drafts, do you think that means that each book needs to go through all of the steps, or does she already have one book that's like maybe already started all the steps? Because there's still a long way. Like, it's at least another year, maybe even 2 after the first draft, I think.
I would say
for her,
for sure a year. I think, like, she definitely needs to put it down for a bit and come back to it and do some rewrites. But, like, theoretically, she could have her rewrites done in a month or 2.
Yeah, but, like, when she finished Crescent City, when Crescent City 2 was released, she had 3 the first draft done.
Yeah, but that's also a strategic... I think that was a strategic choice on releasing that. Like, I don't think they released it. They, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think they released it as soon as it was finished. I think it had been finished and they just waited to release it until it made sense between second Crescent City and third one.
Yeah, there was 2 years between that. Because all of her interviews when she did at Crescent City 2, she was kind of talking about how shitty it was going to be for certain characters, and like she already had some stuff planned. So, yeah. But there's the thing about her too is like she puts out the publishing date, and then it's normally like, is it 6-8 months after she gives the date that they actually... I can't.
Yeah.
I know there's definitely people who know this, but...
I would say it's definitely like 6 months in advance for sure.
Yeah, because, well, she announces a book is coming, and then she announces the name of the book, and then she, like, announces the cover.
Yeah.
And all of these happen, like, months apart. So, all to say, I love getting an update because it's fun and there's speculation and all this stuff, but I do think that we're going to be waiting another while.
I need answers.
Yeah. But I do think if you haven't read Crescent City, you should.
Yeah. Anyway, so I guess we'll get into this month, finishing up our selection for this month. So just a heads up, this is not a spoiler-free zone, and things might, and they kind of do, get saucy.
Also, just want to say, in transparency, that both Kristen and I finished the second book of the series since last episode.
Yeah.
So, we'll try not to spoil. If we do, we'll give you a warning or something.
Yeah.
But just for full transparency, because every other week we've been like, I haven't even finished this book. And now we're like, and we finished the next one too.
Well, so my issue is that I don't think this book doesn't leave off on a huge cliffhanger, which is nice. Like, it's not gigantic.
I guess not.
It definitely leaves you with questions, but
yeah,
I did find when I finished reading it, I was like, oh, I don't like, it wasn't a huge cliffhanger, but I still didn't like where it ended. I needed some resolutions.
Oh, definitely.
So I immediately had to go get the second book and read it. And, we had some nice days, so I read out on my deck, and yeah, it was nice. So I had to.
Yeah.
I had to.
Yeah. I wasn't actually going to read the second book. I had laid it down and I was like, done. And then I went to a thrift store in Toronto last week, and the hardcover sprayed edges second book was just in the thrift bookstore, and I was like, what, how is this already here? I think it only came out in May. Anyway, it was like $18 or something, and then it was cheaper because we paid cash. I was shook. But then I immediately sat down and read the whole thing in 2 days. Yeah. So, you know. Yeah. The second book I think is good. We had some questions, but it's still good.
Yeah.
I would definitely suggest reading it if you finish this one.
I would actually say it's probably even more like, not fast paced in a bad way, but like,
yeah,
like more, I don't know, it just flowed a bit better.
Yeah, and it's definitely, there's a lot of stuff in it.
Yeah. Twists and turns.
Yeah, it's fun. Yeah. It's a fun one. Yeah. So anyway, that was our spiel about transparency. But this is our fourth week with Fate Inked in Blood. We're doing chapters 28 to 36, which is the end. And last week is when they had the big old battle. And then Freya went a bit mad, maybe? Because Bodil died, and then she was overcome with the grief and just like went and decided to take on a child of Thor who unsurprisingly throws thunder by herself.
Yeah.
And that got them in because everyone else was basically retreating, and then she was like, no, Bodil sacrificed herself, we can't give up. And then
yeah,
they didn't.
She essentially single-handedly fought her way into this, into the fortress, and was in like a battle craze. Mm-hmm. And Bjorn is the one who had to stop her, and like they were all like, well, shit, she's scary.
Mm-hmm.
So it was,
and we were very surprised that Bodil just like was dead.
I know, it was like such a main character for that.
Wasn't really expecting it.
No, she's like a main character for like a week.
Yeah, and it seemed like she could be good for Freya and like help her out. Yeah,
help her through some shit.
Yeah, and she was the only female Jarl, and we're just gonna kill her.
Of course we are.
And then I wondered if Freya would take on her maidens as her own army.
It was such a good idea.
So anyway, not the point, because we're getting into this week, and Freya's basically been in bed for days, and Steinem shows up and says that King Snorri, and she like makes a face at King Snorri, and I'm like, you're the one that did this. Yeah. You called him King Snorri last week, but she's like, ugh.
Well, I guess, I think part of the issue too is that like he can talk, and when he was making his speech about like getting revenge and like taking what was rightfully theirs, she was in it. So like I don't like that she's like now, and it's like, girl, you were all for it last week.
Do you think that's part of the oath?
I don't know.
Like obeying him or whatever the words were. I feel like part of her getting swept up in his speeches is because of her oath.
Maybe.
But we never really get an answer. She doesn't want to let her in, but Ylva basically tells her if she doesn't, she'll answer to her, and she's like, fine. And Steinem tells her that her brother and his wife, and she's like, what? He's married? And she, obviously we know it's Ingrid, but she didn't realize that they got married.
Yeah.
Are here. And Freya asks why Steinem is back, because she was supposed to be, like, going to tell all about the Draug and everything they did, like, tell the story far and wide. So why is she here? And I'm pretty sure she just kind of, like, skips over it and asks about the battle that they just had, but Freya refuses to talk about it. And Steinem tells her to come and listen tonight, and she doesn't want to, but Steinem says that she herself endured a tragedy and she understands her grief, and she thinks that she should see what others saw and why they feel the way that they do. And to me, it felt like a kind of like a nice moment between them of, like, understanding.
Yeah, but, like, I also say that, like, she's like, oh, you should come. Like, see how people are gonna, like, see through other people's eyes how they're gonna see you. And I'm like, oh, that's nice. Like, maybe she's gonna be seen as, like, a hero.
Yeah.
And that...
But
something else happened instead.
Yeah. But Steinem is just a complete bitch to her after this. Like, every interaction they have after this, I'm like, why is she being such a bitch? Like, it felt like before now, she was nice to her. And right now, she's trying to, like, be nice to her. And then later, she just gives up on the trying to be nice, and she's like, fuck it. Which, like, I guess makes sense, but I was also like, it just seems weird.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm like, did the author make a choice this late in the book and decide to change something? And maybe that's it. Because in the beginning, Freya was like, oh, it must be weird having to listen to, like, other people talk about themselves all the time. What about you? And, like, they kind of were trying to, like, make a friendship out of it.
Yeah.
But anyway, so Freya actually, like, gets up and gets herself ready, and Bjorn has been sleeping outside of her door. And they kind of make a comment that Snorri was concerned that she was going to kill herself. And I was like, really? I didn't really pick up on that, but maybe. So she asks him about her brother and if Snorri sent for him. But he says that Geir paid a healer to fix his leg and then came to beg to be let back in. And Snorri basically just agreed because of her, basically, because she's doing so much. And he's like, obviously keeping people close to her, close to him, is good for him. Mm-hmm. So Bjorn brings her to her brother, and on the way he tells her that 2 Jarls have sworn oaths to Snorri as king, and more will follow once Steinem sings of her battle ... fame. And we're already like, what is this song gonna be? But I guess we'll see. So they walk by a group who are fixing the wall, and they, like, no one will look at her, and she's just like, why do they hate me? And Bjorn is like, they don't hate you, they fear you. And then she sees Ingrid, who is, like, hesitant at first, but then smiles and hugs her. I'm like, why the fuck is Ingrid hesitant around her now? Like, fuck off. And she yells out to Geir, and then she's less enthusiastic that Bjorn is there. And I'm like, why? Why doesn't she like Bjorn? Did I forget something?
I don't know.
Yeah. F.
Yeah, it's just this.
I'm like, I don't, like, he said that she deserved better than her brother, I guess. Maybe that's why. But I was just like, I just don't understand why.
Yeah, but how would well, I guess, yeah. I don't know.
Yeah. Anyway, so Geir comes out and hugs her and exclaims, like, how great she is, and, like, she's the shield maiden, and, but she's just like, what the fuck? Why are you here? And he says that Snorri welcomed him back. And she says, of course, because they're basically hostages and there to rein her in. And he calls her a child who only behaves with fear of punishment and says that she has everything that she ever wanted now. And he wonders if Ragi was as bad as she said, or if she was the one that was the problem. Ugh. Which is just like, what the fuck is wrong with all of these people? Something. So she calls him an idiot, but he says that he earned his spot here unlike her because she just got in because she had a drop of blood. And it's like, what? But that's the way your whole
society works, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, he's a really big dick here.
It's such a big dick.
She's literally like, you are in danger. Ingrid is in danger. Like, you are here to keep me in line. And he's like, you can't always get what you want. It's time to grow up now. And it's like, dude, like, seriously, shut the fuck up.
All he's doing is what he wants.
Yeah.
And he says then that he only lost his spot in the army, I guess, because he kept her secret. And she's just like, oh, he's jealous.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, I wouldn't have jumped to that conclusion because he just seems like a huge dick. But if you can see that in him, sure. She tells him he shouldn't have brought Ingrid, and he says that if he's like, she's my wife, she goes where I go, and now we're Snorri's family because you're married to him. And they fight a bit about it. And then he asks if he shouldn't have brought her because she's a mad bitch. And that kind of stops her in her tracks because she's like, is that what people think of her? And Bjorn just attacks him.
I love it. Thank you, Bjorn.
And you're like, yeah, obviously this was going to happen. And Bjorn says he's going to snap his wrist and then wonders how Ingrid will like having to wipe his ass. And it's kind of funny. And Ingrid is like begging Freya to do something instead of just fucking doing something herself. Like, two of them could probably take on Bjorn if he's like not with an actual weapon.
I'm sorry.
Like, just do something.
Bjorn is a good guy though. So like if some woman comes up to him and is like, please stop, and like touches his hand, I think he would actually back off.
Yeah, I think so too. Although he now hates Ingrid. So, So Ingrid just begs Freya instead of actually doing anything herself and says that she's supposed to protect them. And a voice in her head says it's who she is to protect people. And then a darker voice says, what if it's not? And we get a bit more of this darker voice during this section. But Freya says enough, and Bjorn just immediately lets go because he's
a puppy.
Shall I say whipped?
A little puppy.
Yeah. And she says that they've made their beds. Let's hope they don't turn into graves. And they leave. So Bjorn asks where she's going. And she's just like, I can't do this. I'm going to go make an oath to Snorri as the king and give up. And she's like, he's the one that controls me, so I'm done. And I'm like, so you just listened to what your brother said and agreed with it, and like, you're just going to give up now. Okay. He tells her that she should change her fate, and it's so easy for him to fucking say that. And he said it a bunch, but I'm like, how do you expect her to change her fate? Like, give her tangible things to do.
But I guess the issue is if he gives her things to do, then he's changing her fate, not her.
But he could also change her fate.
Yeah, but I guess he doesn't want to be the one controlling her.
Yeah.
Because he's like, that's all anybody has ever done, is control her. So, like, he's trying to be... He's trying to have integrity.
Yeah, but he could give her options or something. Like, she can't just come up with, like... This is her potentially changing her fate. Her going to Snorri and being like, yep, I surrender. Oath to you. Yeah. That would change her fate. So, for someone who's not fated, it's like, every decision they make is changing their fate. One assumes.
Yes.
It's just, it's a bit wild. And then she's like, don't you want to unite Scotland? And he says that she needs to ask herself what it will take to do it and what she'll become. And she just says it doesn't matter. And he says it does. It matters to him because she matters to him. Aww. And so she asks him what she should do, and he says to listen to Steinem sing her song tonight. And then we just jump to the song. And it's in the square, and there's like a bunch of people there. And Bjorn says that she doesn't have to stay, but she needs to see what made other people fear her. So her perspective isn't in it at all, and it's everyone else's perspective. But, like, I guess the way the song is, you can literally feel how bad the frostbite on her feet was as she was marching. And I'm like, but you didn't get her point of view. It's such an odd magic, but it is interesting.
Yeah.
She doesn't want to watch Bodil die again, but Bjorn grabs her hand and she's like, I'm strong. And then the perspective changes and she sees the fight from above. So she knows it's the people who were attacking them that actually told this part, which is just like kind of wild. Be like, hey, she killed a shit ton of your people. Tell me how it went. So she puts her hands over her ears, but she can't drown it out. And she watches Bodil drop her shield to catch her. And she realizes that the lightning was intended for her, but it hit Bodil instead. And I'm like, didn't we already assume that? Like, I would have assumed it was for her too.
I don't know if Bodil, like, actually... I don't know if Freya actually realized, like, 100%.
I don't think she did, but, like, who else would they be trying to hit? She's the shield maiden and she's protecting everyone. Like, you'd think that they'd all be aiming for her all the time.
I think maybe she assumed that the lightnings were just, like, wildly zapped, like, just at
random.
Yeah.
I guess. So Bjorn ends up keeping her up, and she watches from his eyes as she returns the fire with, like, her shield against the lightning, and then it, like, explodes the place. And then Bjorn, like, she can see him as she turns around, and he doesn't recognize her anymore. She can feel that he doesn't recognize her. I'm like, we're getting a lot of his feelings in this song. This is dangerous for people to watch.
Yes.
She sees her face then, and it's like a mask of fury, and her eyes are burning crimson fire. And I'm just like, have her eyes turned red? Because, like, the first time I read it, I was like, is that what we're saying? Have they actually turned red? Or, like, is this something else? But I think her eyes do turn red.
Yes.
Which is just like, yeah, clearly something is going on. It's actually the second time this week, and I only just thought of it now, but it reminds me of Gallivant, the Dada, when What's-Her-Face uses it, and her eyes, like,
yes,
change color.
Yeah.
And Garrett's like, did your eyes just? But yeah. And then she runs off to kill a bunch of people, and she just slaughters everyone. And Bjorn begs her to stop, and she doesn't even care if people are running away or trying to fight her. She just kills them, and she thinks that she looks like a monster.
Yeah. And I don't even think she realized at the time what she was doing. She was in such a, like, a battle mode. Like, she genuinely, like, looking back, did not even remember all those people that she took down. Like, from her memory, people were attacking her, and so she was fighting, like, in self-defense. But then she sees this playback, I'm gonna say, and, like, she sees that, like, not everybody was attacking her. Some people were just running away, and she was like, no way, and, like, going for them anyway.
Yeah. It's something. So Ylva just looks disgusted, and everyone else looks afraid of her, except for Snorri, who's just like, and this is what happens when someone defies the will of the gods. And then he's just like, Steinem is leaving tomorrow to sing, and all who fight for him will be in songs forever. And now it's time to feast.
So, like, this is what I mean. Like, why would Steinem be like, oh, you need to come and hear me sing and see what the people think of you. Like, you really need to hear it, Freya. And it's like, oh, the people see you as a monster and they're all afraid of you. You're welcome. It's like that. Why would anybody want to see that?
Yeah, I think there is a part of it of, like, you can change yourself if you see how badly you actually are treating other people. Like, there could be a part like that. I don't think that's where Steinem is coming from, especially with how she acts in the next scene that she's in. But Yeah, it's odd.
Yeah.
It is odd. And it seems like her behavior just like flipped this week.
Yes. Like, because she was always a little bit mean to Bjorn, but like, her and Freya were like friendly.
Yeah, and that was another moment of like, oh, maybe she can have a female friend who isn't a piece of shit.
Yep.
Then we kind of go back to Freya's mind, and it's kind of what you said. Like, she thought that she was just dealing justice, not that she was in a full-blown rage. So she walks away, and Bjorn follows her, and she says that it must have been a lie, but he tells her, like, skalds can only show the truth, and even if people lie to them, they see the truth, which is interesting and super important.
Yes, relevant for later.
Yes. And she just says she doesn't know how Bjorn can look her in the eye now. And he says that he saw her lose herself to the grief and to the battle. So, like, he understands that something happened. Like, it wasn't her kind of thing. And she thinks, like, she kind of says, like, her eyes were red. What if it was something else? And she asks if her power is fear. Is that the only thing that's going to unite Scotland? And he's just like, we should leave.
Yeah.
Which becomes his catchphrase this week. He's like, we got to go. Like, you're going to be scary. But she says, like, he would be giving up his people and his chance to rule and his family. And he's just like, I don't care because I love you so much. And he kisses her. He doesn't say he loves her. He doesn't say that here. Because he wants her. And he kisses her. And they're just in an alley. And I'm like,
anybody could walk by.
What the fuck is happening? But okay. So, and she tells him to prove it. And she, like, bites at his neck and then just, like, grabs his dick. And she tells him to claim her. And he's just like, we're in an alley. He, like, finally realizes. He doesn't say that. He's just like, not here. And she bites him to the point that he bleeds. And she asks if it's his father that's the problem. Because he never had her and he never will. And then she's just like, wait, I made an oath not to tell anyone that.
Odd that she can tell him.
Right? So panic starts to well up in her, but there's some part of her that just, like, pushes it away, and it's this dark voice. And she just kisses him hard, and, like, their teeth are clacking. And she says that the marriage is a lie, and Snorri has never touched her. And in, like, the eyes of the gods, she's a free woman. And I'm like, I guess if that's how it works. Yeah. I don't know. I feel like if you have a marriage ceremony and a marriage certificate, even if you don't have sex, you're still married.
Maybe not in their minds, though.
Yeah, and that's what it must be, but it just is like, also, she ain't never going to be a free woman with all the oaths she made. That's not a thing. But anyway, he basically says that they should leave, and she wants to say yes, but her rational side says that she can't leave her family.
Yeah.
And he says that they should have treated her better, and the two voices in her head kind of battle it out, and she, like, goes on her knees, and she's like, feels like she doesn't know what's going on. But she basically just says she can't leave. And he says then they can't go ahead with what their wants are. Like, they can't have sex if she's staying.
Yeah.
He wants all or none of her.
He's essentially using sex to, like, try and get his way.
Yeah, get her to leave.
Yeah.
But also, I don't really disagree with this idea. I just think that they should actually stick to it and, you know, maybe not fuck around behind her husband, his dad's back. But at him saying that, fury takes over her, and she tells him that if he wants her, he should grow some and go kill his father. And he pulls back and is just like, your eyes are red. And he asks what she wants, and the new voice says, kill Snorri and take everything. But she thinks to herself, like, it isn't what she wants. So she's having a lot of back and forth between these two voices in her head, and, like, I don't even know if either one of them are hers. Like, is one this furious red-eyedness? Is one the protection of element of Lynn? Like, does she have a voice in this at all?
I don't know. I don't know. And, like, I feel like this should be something she should talk about.
Yeah. Well, she does say right now, she says there's something wrong with her. There's someone in her head. And he's like, oh, it's Lynn. And he tells her that she can learn to fight it so that, like, her thoughts are her own. And she says that it can't be Lynn because Lynn is the goddess of protection, and these thoughts aren't, like, protection thoughts. And he tells her that Lynn is a minor god, and they don't know much about her, and they've looked into it because they knew that a shield maiden was prophesied, so they looked into everything they knew about Lynn, and it's not much. And he says nobody living has ever met Lynn, and she thinks she needs to go speak to her mother because, like, obviously her mother would have had some dealings. Well, maybe not, but presumably her mother would have had some dealings with Lynn to make this happen. Bjorn says that Snorri won't allow her to leave because obviously she's being hunted by other Jarls and by Harald, presumably. And he'll just bring her mother here to get the information. But she doesn't want that either because she can't put her mother at risk. But it's a literal full day ride there and then back. So she can't just disappear. So she says she needs to find Steinem because her magic could help. And it's not a bad idea. So they go to the Great Hall, and Steinem's with Ylva and Snorri and the two Jarls that have sworn him. And Freya's just like, you distract Snorri. I need to talk to Steinem. Sternum.
I need to talk to my chest.
Yes, I do. So Snorri introduces her to the two Jarls, and they both bow low to her, which is kind of like a surprise, and it makes me wonder if they're kind of like the same thinking as Bodil, of like, they've sworn their oath to her, not necessarily to him as the king. Right. And they say that they saw Steinem sing, and their enemies will cower at her battle fame. And she remembers that used to be like all that she really cared about. Like, as a child, that's all she wanted. Yeah. But now this feels like a nightmare, which is like, careful what you wish for, I guess. Snorri says that they'll soon turn on Nordaland, and the other Jarls like talk to Bjorn and ask if he is excited for vengeance. And Freya asks to speak to Steinem and leaves Bjorn to distract everyone else. Steinem is talking to Ylva, and Leif is actually nearby, and she like tries to smile at him, but he just touches his weapon, and Ylva like pulls him away, and I'm like, he's a lost cause, man. Just leave it.
Yeah, I feel bad because she so desperately wants like connections and wants to be liked, and like this song has made everybody like fear her really badly. So like,
yeah, and Leif was in the beginning was like, we should kill her.
Yeah,
and now he's only being like justified in his thoughts, really. Yeah. Ylva basically tells him it's time to go to bed, which is just funny. Ylva also says that she's less forgiving of Freya's sulking and running from the performance that was made to honor her.
It's like, was it?
Freya says, well, that's exactly what she says. She's like, the performance was to make people fear her. And then she asks to speak to Steinem. And Steinem just says that her magic speaks the truth. And if that's terrifying, it's because it was terrifying in the moment. And Freya kind of just says, like, the Jarls will follow because of her magic and the fear, but the people will need more. And Snorri as a king gives an oath to protect his people too. So she suggests that they need more tales of the goddess, Lynn, to get like a better story about her. And Ylva just says that, not Ylva, Steinem, says that there are no new stories about Lynn. But Ylva cuts in and says Freya's mother would have spoken to her when they presumably had sex and conceived her.
Yeah.
And Ylva just asks if there's a story about it, but Freya says that she doesn't know because her father forbade them to speak of it. And Freya asks to send Steinem to get the story, but Steinem cuts in to say that her song is good and she's leaving tomorrow to go across Scotland. And Freya says like her song makes her seem like a monster. And Steinem just says then maybe that's because she is.
Yeah.
And you're just like, this is a turn.
Yeah. Just like, it seems like maybe, obviously, she has ulterior motives. Like, I think Bjorn has already hinted that, like, she's a spy for Snorri, or, you know, she does what Snorri wants. So, like, I guess this is sort of the insinuation that, like, Snorri wants her perceived this way. And, like...
Yeah. Yes. I agree. Because, like, I don't know how to say this. Skip ahead 30 seconds if you haven't read the next book. But we kind of see and it's not really a spoiler, but we kind of see in the next book that you can manipulate the truth by excluding things.
Yeah.
Even in the Skald song, that happens at one point. So it's like it is very much made to make people fear her and fall in line and fear Snorri because he controls her.
Yeah.
Anyway, Steinem just storms out and Freya starts to feel rage again. And I'm like, are her eyes just red again? Because that's not great.
But also, I don't understand how, like, all this time... I just don't understand how she's never... like, how is it she's never...
This has never happened before.
Yeah, like, I'm sorry. I feel like...
Like, Vragi threw all the fish out of the water and she didn't get pissed? Like...
He was terrible in bed. He treated her like shit. That never made her angry.
Yeah.
Like, her mother, like, telling her she had to do her duties as a wife, like, that never pissed her off. I find it hard to believe that she's gone all this time not experiencing that rage that would make people question her.
Yeah. I don't get it. I don't get it. And maybe now that it's happened once, it's easier, but, like, that's not explained. Maybe her eyes just turned red and nobody said anything.
Which is weird. Did nobody notice?
Yeah. But also, what are they like? Her eyes turned red in this Steinem song, and nobody's like, hey, weird that your eyes are red. You know what I mean? Ylva says then to her that, like, the people fear her, and it's Ylva's own choices that brought Freya here. And Freya's just like, well, no, because you're fated. But Ylva says that she believes to be fated means that the gods know what her character is and what decisions she will make. It's not that, like, everything is laid out in front of her. It's just that they know her so well that they know which choices she'll make. Which is, like, an interesting take on it, I guess. But I don't really see... I guess it differs a bit, but it is still like, what does all this mean?
Yeah.
And also, that's just her interpretation, so it's like, okay. Then Ylva says that she loves her husband, but he doesn't see everything, and she doesn't want him to rise to power, to be king, in fear, or for this to be her son's legacy. So Ylva tells her to go in secret to see her mother, and she will tell everyone that she's seeking counsel with the gods, and she'll delay Steinem leaving. And so that she can, I guess, tell Steinem the story. Which I don't get how that's going to make people like her anyway, the story of her parents conceiving. Who knows? Maybe it's like, maybe they assume that Lynn's power, like, is just for protection and she was justified in all of the death and stuff. I don't know what they're hoping to get, but sure. So Ylva just tells Snorri that Freya needs to go to her rooms with Bjorn to seek counsel with the gods. And I'm like, is this is the scene that kind of reminded me of Gallivant when Madalena told the King Richard, that she wanted to go work on the Jester's.
Yes, I need to. Yeah, the Jester and I need to go work on his set.
She pushes up her tits.
Yeah.
It's a great scene. But it really made me laugh because it just reminded me of that. And then she calls for everyone to feast, and Snorri brings Freya mushrooms because they're basically, she just told her to go get high in her bedroom with Bjorn. And I'm like, this would be a good turn to the story too. Just give us a 2-day of them getting high, and one can assume having sex. So she just tells Bjorn to get ready, and they go to her room. He meets her there, and she explains what Ylva wants her to do, and he's disappointed that they aren't just going to get high and stay in her room for 2 days. But he already does have the horses ready, and they just leave. So they get to her mother's home pretty quickly, even though it's, I guess, a full day. There's just not a lot to it. And her mother's like living good. There are more animals and crops than there were before. A man comes out, and Freya's just like, who the fuck are you? And where's my mother? And Bjorn just knows who it is. His name is Birger? I think that's how I'm going to say it.
In my brain, I was just calling him Burger.
I know, it is hard not to, but I'm sure that's not what it is. And Birger says that she's in bed unwell, and Freya's just like, this is Snorri's fault, like, what the fuck? And she starts to lose her shit, but her mother just comes out and tells her to stop and says that she's fine, and that Birger has helped her while she was unwell. Since Freya has been off because she was wed, and Geir left to fight, so now she's all alone.
Yeah, essentially guilt tripping her, like,
100%.
being forced to leave. Like,
yeah,
I'm sorry.
Like, what a bitch. So Freya just like looks at her, and her mother's in like all new clothes and jewelry, and her mother says that Freya got what she wanted. She's a warrior like her brother now. And Bjorn just laughs at that, which I find amazing, because he's a piece of shit. Not Bjorn, her brother. So Freya asks her to walk with her, and her mother tells Birger to milk the goats and to fix the roof leak. And he doesn't want to leave them alone because, like, that's his job. But Bjorn says that he'll escort them. But her mom is like, no, you won't. I won't have you at my back. I know so much about you. And says that he can chop wood. And they kind of go back and forth a bit. But Freya's just like, we'll stay in sight. It's fine. Freya apologizes for not coming earlier. And I'm like, how would she have come back earlier? Like, her mother guilt tripped her. But, like, how realistically would she have left earlier? And her mother even says that she knows her situation, and it's actually her fault. And Freya's just like, what do you mean? And Freya asks if she knew it was Lynn, I guess, when she was conceived. And her mother just says, no, it was actually another. And we get the story now, but her mother tells her Geir was sickly, and they were told to leave him out in the cold to die, which is like a common thing in their people, because, like, I guess it's similar to not that it's similar to eagles, that, like, the biggest, strongest one they'll feed of their children, and they'll leave the other ones basically to die. But it's also like they're a hard people who, a lot of them, I guess, die.
Yeah, it's a hard life, and they have to, like, sort of really it takes a lot to feed, you know, another mouth. So if that mouth, aka child, is unwell or sickly, they just leave it out to die instead of trying to keep it healthy, because it's just a strain on not just the household but the community and everything. It was actually, like, it wasn't uncommon back in, like, back in those days, especially with babies.
Yeah. So Freya's just like, well, it's good you didn't because he grew up strong. And then she thinks of body, at least, which is just kind of funny.
Yeah.
But her mother's just like, no, they weren't wrong. And then she says that they prayed, her father prayed to the gods and offered anything they could, but he kept getting worse. And then the night that they knew would be his last, someone knocked on the door. And it was a woman with pale skin and dark hair. And she offered to spare their son in exchange for a gift. And she wanted to lie between them, and what the passion yields is the sacrifice that pays for their son. And it said something along the lines of, like, if he, like, where he didn't die, that'll be the replacement kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's not the exact words, but that's kind of what I took from it. Freya is just so fucked because she just, like, feels so bad for her parents. And, like, I get it, I guess, but I'm also like, are you not worried about what that means for you when they just said that? Like, you can not worry about your mother for a second, because she's like, I can't believe they had to have sex with a child that was dying right next to them. And it's like, yeah, I guess. But then her mother literally says that she's never had sex like that before or since, and then they immediately fell asleep for, like, hours. So it's like, I think she enjoyed herself.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sorry. If you were with a god who knew exactly what to do, it'd be fun.
Of course it is, but it's just like Freya's like, oh no, I feel so bad for them. And she's like, damn, best sex I ever had. But when they finally woke up, her brother was gone, and they lost their shit. And they were worried that it was actually the god Loki tricking them by, like, agreeing to heal their son and then taking him anyway. Because, like, they didn't specify heal and leave him here.
Yeah.
Which, obviously, most people wouldn't, but it's, like, a common...
You gotta be clear.
If you're making a deal.
You're making a deal with gods or fairies.
Exactly. So they're raging, and then another knock sounds, and a different woman was outside with a healthy gear in a basket, which is a funny thing to say, but he's a baby. Not just, like, some gears in a basket. And this woman was a different woman. She was a warrior, and with the description, we're immediately like, it's Lynn. And she tells them that they'd been played false, and their tears mean something to her, which is, like, something that Bodil said too, that, like, Lynn cares about the tears of the fallen and stuff. So it just, like, kind of came back to that. I don't think it really matters, but it was just, like, an interesting tidbit. So she is going to offer a bargain. She will, if they allow the child that is in her belly to be her vessel, she'll give them back the boy. Her mother asks why, and Lynn says if she's only gifted avarice, her words would be curses, but if gifted altruism, it'll be a power she can make her own, and she can make her own fate. And Freya's just like, what does that mean? And her mom's like, oh, you know gods, they speak in riddles. And she's just like, her mom just says that she just agreed. She didn't ask any more questions. She was just like, yep, sounds good. Give me my kid back. Cool. And then her mother apologizes, and Freya's like, why are you apologizing? And she says that she chose her brother over her and ended up cursing Freya. And Freya kind of thinks back to, like, is it a choice or was the fate woven already? Like, that whole thing. And she holds her mother and says it was a privilege to have a child with God's blood. So, like, why would she call her a curse, basically? But her mother says that her power is a curse and it's bringing war, not life.
Thank you so much, Mother. So nice
really,
of you.
Really being so good. Freya basically tells her there's nothing to forgive and that she's content, but her mother says that she's lying. And then asks why she's risking it all by sleeping with her husband's son.
Yikes.
And I was like, just tell her you're not, because you actually haven't slept together.
Yeah. That's a good point.
Yeah. But no.
But, like, I'm just annoyed because it all comes back to Freya doing the wrong thing. You know what I mean? She's not like, oh, I'm so sorry. This was a curse because you're going to war and people are fighting over you and people are claiming you and controlling you. And I'm so sorry. This is not the life I wanted for you. None of that. It's, oh, I'm sorry. This is a curse because, you know, you're just bringing war to us. Why'd you go and do that? Like, you could have just been happy with Snorri. Why couldn't you have been happy? Why are you fooling around with his son? Like, she's blaming Freya for everything.
It just is like, how can one person have so many shitty people in their lives and not realize it?
Yeah.
Before this book started. Like, they're all fucking awful.
Yeah, it has to be, like, just a book thing. And it's actually, like, one of the tropes I hate in books. And I feel like I've mentioned it before. Like, all these, like, werewolf shifter romance books where, like, the girl is literally treated like an absolute slave by every single person in the pack until an alpha from another pack comes in and mates. And they're mates. And he takes her away from her terrible situation. Like, that is bullshit.
Yeah.
And, like, all these, like, even, you see them, they're, like school stories where everybody's, or, like, do you get those advertisements for those, like, real movies that are, like, really, really poorly acted, like, essentially, like, I don't know, like, really poorly acted, terribly edited like short novels that have been made into terrible movies.
The most recent one was like, you're a nerd and a virgin that I saw, and I was like, she's objectively good looking. Like, what the fuck?
But, like, literally everybody, like, treats her like shit. And she's like, oh, I was adopted by my step family, and first they treat me so nice, and then all of a sudden they all treat me like shit. And, like, there's not one person, like, in the family that likes her anymore, and then she goes out in public and everybody else treats her like shit too, and I'm like, that's not how life happens.
No, but I just don't understand how Freya didn't realize. I mean, like, yes, that this is also a trope that I don't like, but I just don't get how Freya didn't realize that everyone was treating her like shit before this point.
Because that's how everybody treated her, I guess. She couldn't tell the difference.
But, like, she knew that Vroggy was shit. How did she not know that everyone... Anyway, I can't. But anyway, so her mom's just like, I know, because he looks at you like he believes he owns you. And you look at him the same. And I'm like, okay, fine. They did say that. And her mom basically says, like, by doing this, she's going to screw over the entire family and they'll all die. And it's not worth sacrificing Gear for her lust. And it's just like everything comes back to Gear and how he's the favorite child. Like, wild.
Yeah.
So she tells Freya to swear that she's going to stop fucking Bjorn, even though she's not fucking him at all, but she wants her to swear it. And Freya knows, like, she needs to choose to not be with him because, like, she can't unite Scotland and be with Bjorn, so she needs to choose that herself. But she does also recognize that her mother is being awful. And she says that all her mother has ever done is put her last since she was born. They, like, hid her magic offered her to Vroggy because it made their lives better, even though he's a piece of shit, and then to Snorri for their gain, and now telling her to push away the one person who put her first. And I'm like, does she only like him because he's not a dick and everyone else is?
Kind of.
Like, maybe. The one person who puts her first because it risks her mother, and she says it might be the right choice, but it needs to be her own, not her mother's. And her mom is just like, so you're gonna curse us all then? And Freya just says that they did that themselves, and the whole family could have run, but now they're gaining from her being with Snorri, so they want her
fall in line
to behave. Yeah. So her mother calls her a whore and goes to slap her. Really? We just went from an apology to this.
I know. It just seems like her mom is horrible for horrible's sake. Like, she has no depth as a character.
None at all. Because that's what I was saying the first week, maybe, when we met the brother and then we met Ingrid. I was like, well, maybe her mom's actually, like, not awful. But no, she just has no anything. Yeah. So, of course, Bjorn grabs her hand before she can slap her and tells her to apologize. And she says that he's a bad influence because Freya used to be a good and loyal woman before he came along. And you're like, ugh. And he just says that she still is, but her mother isn't worthy of it anymore. And Freya leaves and her mother pleads to her, but she's just like, no, you did this to yourself. Whatever happens, happens. And they leave.
Can I just say, though, that Freya annoys me because she's very much like, you made your bed, now you're going to have to lie in it. But then she doesn't
follow through. Yeah.
Which agreed. I find annoying.
Yeah. So Freya's in a hurry to get back, but Bjorn says that they should just leave and go south.
Yeah. Like, just run.
Like, and
I'm sorry.
Because the only thing stopping her is her family.
I know, but, like, I also feel like, so again, a little bit of foreshadowing, a little bit of, like, not a spoiler, but, like, for the end of the book, like, if he had given her the entire truth,
100%.
Then maybe her answer right now would be slightly different.
Yeah.
But instead, like, she thinks not only is she worried about her family, she's also worried about taking his legacy from him and his future, and thinks that, like, he wants to be with his family and he wants to rule Scotland. Like, she thinks those are all things that he wants, and she feels that, like, she's gonna take them from him if they run. So I think if she knew his truth, then maybe this decision would be slightly different.
I agree. It's so stupid. But it does also feels like he's kind of said, maybe he just always says we should leave. I haven't read it well enough to know, like, does he not say, let's go, or let's leave, and then she makes a decision? Because I'm like, that's not obeying him. Do you have to be intentional with your obey thing? I wonder. Maybe it's about intention. But anyway, so Freya's in a hurry to get back, but yeah, he says they should leave. And she thinks it's tempting to let Snorri kill her idiot brother and negligent mother, but she can't.
So again, she's not following through.
Yeah. So she is, like, galloping away, but Bjorn catches up to her and stops her and says that he needs to tell her something. And I was like, woo, interesting. But he tells her that his mother's foretelling wasn't the only one, and she had another about her. And she's obviously annoyed he didn't tell her before now. But his mother basically said that the Shield Maiden would unite Scotland, but tens of thousands would die in the wake. And she would walk along like a plague, turning, like, brother against brother, and they would all fear her. Which is kind of what her fear is now, that she's turning into someone to fear. So it's like, it's probably a good thing for her to know that that was a thing. I don't know why he couldn't tell her before now. Save the people that she just murdered. But anyway. And then he says, this is the stupidest. He says that he assumed that she would be more monster than woman, which is so different than the truth because she's beautiful and she protects, and he didn't believe that the prophecy was about her and that it was right. And it's like, what?
Yeah.
But then, yeah, because she has a pretty face. He was like,
yeah,
she must have changed things. She's so pretty. And she likes saving fish that were thrown onto the shore when I'm standing in the water. Like, what?
Like, seriously, what much else do they know about each other? Apart from the fact that she protects her family even though they're pieces of shit.
Yeah. And then he says that the tests and the gods all started happening, like the gods showing up and all of the tests. And he knew that she'd lead. And he says after the fight, he's worried now that Snorri is going to change her into that monster that his mom was talking about. And if she keeps following him, that's how it's going to be. And he thought that seeing Steinum's song would change her mind, but she still cares about her shitty family, which is like the theme. And he also says like he thought seeing her mother Prophet would change her mind too, but she still is refusing to change her fate. And she asks if he plans to change it for her, but he wants it to be her choice.
But
which we just
to be fair, is that also not him refusing to take responsibility for shit? You know what I mean? Like, he's like, well, I don't want to be responsible for how your life turns out or how my life turns out or how everybody else's life turns out. Therefore, I'm not going to say anything.
But it's also like, not to get too far into what happens this week, but it's like, if he wanted her to make a choice, he should be giving her all of the information available. Yeah. Like, he only just told her about the second prophecy. Like, how is she supposed to know anything when she didn't realize that that was a thing? So it's like, he's not giving her all of the information. So what the fuck is he, like, what's she supposed to decide on? She doesn't have a full idea of what's happening. He just wants her to choose him blindly.
Yeah.
Is what it seems like. And it's like, that's not reasonable. So she thinks like she wants to, but she can't condemn her family. And he tells her like they condemned themselves. And like, and she just looks out to the water and she thinks it would be so easy to leave and not know if Snorri actually did kill them because she'd be gone and she might never have to find out. And she tells him what her mother said about like her, when Lynn said like, if she gives her some of her, becomes her vessel, if she became her vessel, she would be able to change her future. Yeah. And she said, like, that makes it sound like protecting others is the part of herself that she should
prioritize.
Be, to change her future, as opposed to, like, the more selfish and the more rage-filled part of her. Which I think is a good point. But it doesn't change that her family are shit.
No.
But also, like, when she's attacking people, she's not protecting anybody. Like, she's protecting other people attacking, but just don't attack in the first place. So, you know. She realizes then, like, not really realizes, she kind of had this thought before, but she knows that she has to give him up. And she tells him that she has to go back. And he says the parts of her that he hates the most is also the reason he loves her. And it's the first time he used the L word. And she wants to say it back to him because she knows that it's true. But she knows that, like, she needs to let him go. So she tells him that if he wants nothing to do with her, it's okay. But he says that she's his and he's hers. Even if it's only them that know it. And I'm like, so he's backing off of the I want all of you or none of you train, and he's just like, you're mine, even if I'm like, okay, sure. Everyone's just changing their mind willy-nilly.
Yeah. I don't hate it though, because it's cute.
It is. And I almost wonder, like, if they had longer at this conversation and weren't distracted, would he have like been like, here's the deal? I don't think so, but it's a possibility. I kind of wish that he started to say it and then was interrupted. That's what I wish happened. But she looks away at the water and she sees and she sees a Drakkar coming, and Bjorn is like, it's Skade's. And he's like, that's Harald's hunter. She's a child of Earl. Earl. Earl.
It's not even a name, it's just a sound.
Which, like, I'm assuming is actually a goddess or a god. Like, because most of the other ones they've talked about have been. So I'm just like, I don't know how to say this. Anyway.
I thought you listened to the audiobook.
No, I finished the end of the book by reading it on a plane.
Oh, okay. So I looked it up. It's Uller.
Uller. Yeah. Oh, interesting. Okay. So yeah, she's a child of Uller, and that means that she basically has a magical bow that never misses. And Freya's just like, who do you think she's hunting? And he just looks at her. It's like obviously she's hunting you, dumbass. And she's like, but nobody knows that I'm here. Dun, dun, dun. And she knows that the Drakkar has to dock in her village, and she can't let them all die. So she's just like, nope. And she starts galloping away.
Just full on thinks that they're going to come in and kill every single person.
Yes. Which reminds me of Lord of the Rings. So Bjorn catches up to her and grabs her reins, and she just like jumps off the horse and starts running. And he just like pins her down and tells her to look. And they just watch as like only Skade gets off of the Drakkar, and they aren't actually attacking. They're just like going to talk to somebody. But Freya's like, why are there so many soldiers on the boat then? And Bjorn is just like, that's a good question. And it's like kind of a moment of like, he's saying something that he doesn't really mean to, because she looks back at him and then he's just like blank faced. And it's like, what does he know? But Freya gets completely distracted and is like, it must be Ylva. And he's just like, that doesn't make any sense. She swore to Bodil that it wasn't Bodil, wasn't her. And Freya decides that she lied about it, and Bodil just like went along with the lie. Bjorn says that Ylva wouldn't go against Snorri, but Freya says that she was mad at his choices for not wanting to go back to their original town when it was burnt and her son was there.
She's got a lot of theories.
Yes. And she also knows that like Ylva does kind of agree with her in that like this whole fear thing is not a great thing. But Bjorn is just like, it's impossible. Like, if it was Ylva, she would have just poisoned us. She wouldn't give us to her enemy, because even though, like, Harald is still her enemy.
Yeah.
Even if she did want them dead, she'd find another way. She wouldn't go to this extreme. Which is such a good point.
But Freya is single-minded, and it's like, nope, it's definitely Ylva.
So Skade and half of the warriors from the Drakkar follow a man through town, and she realizes that they're going to her mother's house. And Bjorn tries to get her to leave, but she asks if Skade will hurt her mother. And she can tell that, like, he must know her from his time in Nordirland. And he says, like, she won't defy Harald's orders. And her mother will tell Skade everything anyway, so like there's no reason for her to kill her. But truthfully, he doesn't know if she will or not. She can't abandon her mother, so she jumps on her horse, and Bjorn is just like, fuck it, I guess if we're gonna die, we're gonna die, and follows her. And he tells her on the way, like, Skade won't miss, but she just says that she can use her shield. But he's just like, the shield might not protect you because she could shoot somewhere and it like actually like aim at your face and it could hit you in the back. And I'm like, can't she just shield her entire body? Why doesn't she just hold the shield all the time? Like, why doesn't she just shield her entire body and hold his hand? Shield the fucking horses too.
She should be able to shield whatever she wants. She just needs to practice.
Yeah, exactly. Which she hasn't done a whole lot of lately. And it's also, I do think that there's another thing of like the gods' magic against each other's is like not, I guess, it's not predictable when you use a god's magic against a god's magic. So it's not for sure that if it hit her shield, it would go back and kill her. So they basically get to their mothers just in time to see Birger being shot off the roof with a green arrow. And Freya wants to warn her mother, but Bjorn keeps her hidden. And Skade goes to talk to her mother, and the soldiers surround them talking. And Freya knows that like there's no way for them to get to Skade now without her shooting one of them, so she just sits and waits. And Skade's just like, "You're Freya's mother."
Yes.
And she says that one of her clansmen brought her up here. And Freya is pissed, but then she's just like, "But I also get it, because he didn't want her to kill everybody else." And it's just like, her forgiving people is so like...
Oh, you mean everybody?
Yeah. It's just wild. Like, you can be mad at somebody. You don't immediately need to forgive them.
Apparently Freya does.
Yeah. So Skade just asked if Freya came, and Freya just thinks like she wants her mother to tell the truth. And her mother asks why, and Skade says that Harald wants to know. And her mother basically just tells them everything, that they were here on horseback an hour ago, and she was with Bjorn, and there could have been more soldiers that she didn't see, and she assumes they're going back to Snorri's hold now. She just like lays everything out. The soldiers say that there's no one in the house, and that there are hoof prints that say the horses went in the directions you said. And they ask if they're going to follow it, but Skade says no. And tells her mother that she was helpful, and she turns and starts to walk away. But then she says only a cowardly bitch betrays her child, and shoots her gold bow and green arrow at Freya's mother, and obviously hits her. And Freya screams, and Bjorn is just able to cover the scream and not let us peep out. Skade doesn't hear a goddamn thing, and Freya's there thrashing and screaming feet away. She heard this whole conversation, but they can't hear her screaming because his hand is there. Okay, cool.
Sure. It's definitely how sound works.
Yeah. So Skade and the soldiers go back to the Drakkar, and Freya races to her mother, and she's still in the process of dying. And Freya says that she's sorry, and she's sorry for what she said, but her mother just dies. And Bjorn is just like, she betrayed you to her dying breath. Like, she doesn't deserve your apologies. Also fair. And Freya just says, like, all of her decisions end up with death for everyone. And all she does is bring death along. And he says, this is why she needs to leave with him. Because the bringers of death keep trying to get to her and are using the people around her. And then Freya thinks of Ylva and how she wants to kill her. And Bjorn is just like, you have no proof that it's her. And I'm like, this would be a good time to have a conversation with her.
Yes, it
Bjorn.
would.
And she lists out all of the shit that she's like taken into her head. And he tells her, like, you should wait because you're clearly angry right now. And he also says, like, they should leave because vengeance isn't everything. And she says that he should understand wanting vengeance because he wants it against Harald. And she says it's worth any sacrifice. And Bjorn says it's different because he knows exactly who went into the cabin with murder in his heart.
Does he?
Well, but he will give it up for her sake. And she just thinks in her head that he's going to stop her. And that's unacceptable. So Freya asks why he won't believe her. And why he's protecting Ylva. And I'm like, if we could think this through for a little bit longer, we might actually get there.
Just have a conversation. Please.
And he tells her that her eyes are red. And she says that they'll go see to her mother and she'll calm down to an acceptable level and then they can go back or they can make a decision. And he takes her mother to the bed in the house and then he gets the horses and she takes both reins and like walks back a bit and tells him to burn the house. And as he's like lighting the house on fire, she jumps on her horse and holds his horse and just like gallops away.
Yep. So she abandoned Bjorn in her little town and she rides her horse and thinks of all the ways she's gonna kill Ylva for doing what she did. She is in full-on rage mode at this point.
Yeah. Also, sorry, but they just never need to sleep.
No. Sleep? What's that?
I wouldn't know her.
But, like, so she does abandon Bjorn's horse at some point. Like, she doesn't want to completely leave him stranded. She just...
And the horse was fighting her a bit, too, is I think the other thing. So it's like...
Yeah, she is thinking, like, I just want to get a head start more so than I want...
Yeah. So I can kill Ylva before he gets back.
So she gets back to Grindhill and confronts Ylva in the courtyard. And it's funny because according to Ylva, she's still in her room conferring with the gods. But like now she's out and about. So she's like, I know you betrayed me and my mother is dead because of you. And Ylva's like, I don't know what you're talking about. I swear I didn't do anything. But Freya like doesn't listen and just attacks her with her sword. Yeah. And Bjorn just happens. I don't know how Bjorn got there so fast.
I don't
because
understand.
Like Freya even like it says, I didn't write it in because I didn't think it was necessary, but like after she took the horse and like galloped and galloped and galloped, she didn't stop for shit. She literally stopped at when her horse started to get tired. She stopped at a town and was like, can I have a new horse and I'll give you this one? And some guy was like, yeah, sure. Gave her a fresh horse and she went on again. Like, she did not stop. Yeah. So I don't understand how he got there so fast. But I digress. So he just shows up right at the right moment and stops her from killing Ylva. And then Snorri just thinks it's a great idea to show up at that point. And Freya just tells him that Ylva is a traitor and explains, like, the 3 times that she has as evidence. So the whole thing on Fjaltindr,
where she saw
somebody trying to break in.
Harald
saw somebody trying to break into her house.
And then,
the whole thing with Halsar and, like, seeing someone carve the runes. And then just now with her mother. And Ylva was either present and the only one who could have done it. So she's like, who else would do any of those things? So Snorri is confused because he's like, I thought you were in your room. But she's like, no, sorry, I snuck out to see my mother. Ylva helped. So then Snorri's pissed and he's like, let's go discuss this privately, please. And Bjorn just explains what happened with Freya's mom and Skade and everything like that. And Snorri turns to Ylva, who's like, I'm innocent and I've always been loyal to you. And he's like, okay. So then he asks Freya, he's like, I need you to justify everything and like tell it to me again, like slowly. So she does. She lays it out logically and she highlights, like, I definitely saw a woman in a hood with Harald and I saw a woman in a hood putting the runes on the tree. So, like, she's making it very clear that it was a woman. And Ylva's like, I was with Bodil the first time and Bodil said I wasn't lying the second time. But Freya's like, yeah, but you were the only one that knew I was going to see my mother. And she's like, I demand vengeance for this. And like Snorri is actually compelled by her argument. He's like, oh, you make some good points, but he won't condemn Ylva without a trial.
Which,
I mean, it's valid.
Fair. And, like, she's so convinced that this was a woman that was doing all of these things. So it's like, that was my pushback with our theory last week. Because I was like, if it's Bjorn, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah, how does he look like a woman?
Yeah. Anyway.
So they hear then, like, a horn. And it's a warning. And a soldier comes in and tells them that Nordaland forces have landed in Torn, which is, like, the port village nearby. And there are dozens and dozens of ships. And Ylva's first thought is, shit, we gotta get out of here. But Snorri's like, no, why would we do that? And he's like, maybe you did betray me. Like, maybe you are the traitor. And he's like, was this the plan so that we would... He thinks now that she is suggesting that they run so that they go back to Halsar, their original sort of village and their original home.
Yeah. That's
Like, he thinks that, like, she just wants to be back there because that's her home. But she's like, no, I'm loyal to you. But she also says our allies haven't arrived yet, and they're not gonna... And she's like, we are not gonna beat Harald right now without those allies, so we should get out of here. And Snorri's like, no, we fought really hard for this fortress. I'm not leaving it. And instead, he's like, let's abandon the town. So the intention was good because it was like, let's get a messenger to the town and get everybody out. But before the messenger can deliver the message, they hear, like, an explosion from the town. So they're like, well, shit, Torn is gone. So Bjorn knows that Skade and Tora will be with Harald because he doesn't go anywhere without them. And this is not a battle that they can win right now. So he's, like, agreeing with Ylva. He's like, yeah, let's go. Let's run. But Snorri gets pissed at him then because he thinks Bjorn is being a coward. And he's like, this is not how you get into Valhalla, which is the goal of this entire book for every single person is to get into Valhalla. Yeah. And Bjorn's like, it's not being a coward to pick your battles. And he's like, I think Odin would recognize me being a strategist. But Snorri is like, Odin saw Freya's greatness, so why do you, like, he's asking Bjorn why Bjorn keeps fighting against Freya's fate, and why he's refusing the ambition that Snorri has. But Bjorn's like, I don't think you're the one that's supposed to control Freya's fate, which is sort of like a, oh.
Yeah. You can't say that.
Yeah, because Snorri, like, is hell-bent on believing this prophecy and that it's him. And now he's learning that his son doesn't think the prophecy's about him. Which is, yeah. But then, to get things a little bit more aggressive, I guess, Snorri puts his sword out and puts it on Bjorn's throat and asks if he thinks that it should be Bjorn controlling her instead. And that he's seen how he looks at and lusts after Freya, but until now thought he was still loyal to Snorri. But, like, now he sees that he's more interested in being with Freya than her achieving her destiny. And it's just sort of like a slap in the face of, like, oh, you obviously don't care about her. You don't want to see her achieve her destiny. And it's like, no, he just doesn't want her to turn into a monster and doesn't. And he's actually the only one that does care about her story. But sure, whatever you say. Bjorn, like, knocks the sword away and pushes Snorri and tells him he is still alive because he made a promise that he wouldn't kill him, but that the gods are going to punish him. And Snorri just says, he's like, you either kill me or get out. But he also says, I'm not going to name a coward as my heir. So essentially, either you kill me and are my heir, or you don't kill me and you're not.
And you're disowned.
It's so weird. A voice, then that voice that you mentioned, speaks to Freya and says that if she kills Snorri, she could have whatever she wants. And Freya tries to pull her sword out, but she can't do it. So her oath to Snorri means that she cannot harm him. So, like, the magic is physically just not letting her harm him. So that answers a question that we had either last week or the week before.
Yeah.
However, she does say, I'm not going to fight for you. And I don't know what changed. Like...
Well, I guess in this moment, she's like, we have other options. We don't need to fight. So she's like, I'm not going to do it.
Yeah. And I think...
I
think, too, she's not liking how he's treating Bjorn, obviously. And she says, me and Bjorn are going to leave. I'm like, you probably shouldn't have said that. So they go to leave, but run into Ragnar, which is, I don't know if it's Snorri's right-hand man or if it's Ylva's. Like, he works very closely for them.
And he was with Leif when Leif was gone.
Yeah. So Ragnar has a knife to Gyr's throat. Yeah. And Gyr is yelling at Freya, telling her that Ingrid is gone. That they took her and he doesn't know where. And she gets really frustrated now and tells Snorri that she hates him. And she does...
But also, maybe you shouldn't take your wife here, you
Which
dumb
is exactly
fuck.
what Freya told him. And he was like, my wife goes where I go. And it's like, you're a dummy. And again, Freya said, your futures are your own now. Like, I'm not... You've made your bed, now you have to lie in it. But...
Yeah.
She obviously doesn't fully commit to that idea.
No.
So, she tells Snorri she hates him. She doesn't understand how the gods could want him to be king. And Snorri just tells her that she's a girl child. And she's ruled by impulse and emotion. And she needs to be controlled. Because she is a weapon. Now, Bjorn wants her to call Snorri's bluff about killing Gyr. And he's like, he's not going to do it. Because if he does it, he loses the control over you. So, like, he's not actually going to kill him. And the voice in her head is like, yes, call the bluff. Like, it's not going to happen. But Gyr shouts at her that Ingrid is pregnant. Oh, my God. In the short amount of time. Like, how long has she been gone? Like, maybe a month? If that?
Yeah. I don't even think
feels
it's that
like it's only been a couple weeks, and yet she's already... they're married, and she's preggo? Like, come on.
Wild.
And anyway, he just says, like, maybe I don't deserve your protection, but my unborn baby does. I hate it. And, like, she just doesn't know what to do because Bjorn is telling her they have to go because Harald is almost here. And but she also, like, she is thinking about Ingrid and the baby, and, like, the baby is innocent. So she decides to stay, but urges Bjorn to go. Because, like, she knows that, like, there's no coming back from Snorri recognizing sort of their budding relationship. But he tells her he will stay until they meet Valhalla. So he's with her until they both die. So this is sort of my issue of, she says, oh, you made your bed, now you have to lie in it. But she's not following through on that at all.
No.
So they head to the ramparts and they see the Nordaland army has sort of congregated outside the walls. And Tora is there. She's the daughter of Thor. And she has bruises everywhere and half of her hair is burnt off. And Freya realizes that she was the one here defending Nut and realizes that Nut was working with Harald. So she's the one that killed Bodil.
Now her rage will take over.
So Harald pulls a white cloth from his armor and he approaches and he speaks directly to Freya, and he tells her he is trying to prevent war from coming to pass. So if she comes with him now, he will pack up his army and sail home and hurt nobody. And Harald also tells them that it wasn't him who brought violence to Saga's door, but Snorri. But Snorri, like, twisted the narrative to his benefit. He's like, it wasn't me, but Snorri's been saying it's been me this entire time. And Snorri's like, that's a lie. You killed Saga and kidnapped my son.
Yeah. But when they were talking, it did seem like there was, like, we talked about it, I think, last week. When they were talking, it did seem like there's something else going on here. Like, it seemed like they used to be friends or something. Like, there was something. Yeah.
So Harald just yells that, like, he knows that Snorri intends to use Freya to attack Nordirland, and he's just trying to protect his people, which actually seems valid. Like, Snorri essentially admitted that once he became king of Scotland and united Scotland, he was coming for Nordirland. So, like...
Oh, 100%, yeah.
So Snorri just yells for the shield wall, and Freya just uses her magic to encase the wall in Lynn's shield. Again, she's got the oath sort of binding her to do what Snorri commands. Harald keeps trying to urge her not to fight, and that she needs to decide her own fate. But Ragnar still has the knife against Gyr's throat, and she just feels hopeless. She's like, there's no way to escape this without anybody dying. She asks Bjorn then which man actually killed his mother. Because she's like, whichever, she's like sort of simplifying it in her head to be whichever man killed his mother is the bad one. And she didn't want to side with that one.
Yeah.
But she's like, you were the only one there, so, like, obviously you know who actually killed your mom, but he kept being vague and cryptic. Be like, the one that deserves my vengeance, or, like, you know, he never actually said someone's name.
Exactly.
And he just tells her, like, but he tells her that neither did, which is not correct, but I think he's trying to, like, he doesn't want to sway her one way or another.
I kind of took it as, like, at this moment, when I read this, I was like... Did
he do it?
Is he blaming himself for her dying? So he's really just taking all this shit out, like, he's the one that's going to have to pay. But in this really stupid way that he's just not actually doing anything. Like, how is... Yeah. I felt like, oh, this whole time he was talking about someone having to pay, he was just talking about himself and how much he hates himself.
Yeah. Anyway, so she just reminds him, she's like, dude, you swore vengeance on the one that killed your mother. And he's like, don't take my vengeance on as your own. So, like, he really wants her to make a choice for her.
She can't do because she doesn't have the info.
Yeah, but... So, like, she just doesn't know what to do. So, Harald allows some villagers from Torn to go to the front. And some of them run for the gate to be let in, but Snorri doesn't let them. And, like, when he called for the shield wall, what she did was she touched the rampart and encased the entire, like, front of the fortress in her shield. So... they're all, like, wanting to be let in, but Snorri's like, nope, keep the gates closed. And he tells Freya that this is a trick, that if she were to lower her shield, Harald is going to attack. But Harald is like, no, I won't. You can let the people in.
Yeah.
And, like, she's just torn right now because she can't turn her back on Gyr because she thinks that as soon as she disobeys, Gyr's dead. And Ingrid and the baby. But she also... I'm wondering if they if they conceived the baby out of wedlock. Like, maybe she was pregnant, like...
Yeah, because, we don't even know when they got married.
It wasn't... We knew they weren't married when Freya was married, like, first left with Snorri. But, like, maybe she was already pregnant at that point.
Yeah. No, I get what you're saying. I just am agreeing. Yeah. Like, they couldn't have gotten married. It has, at most, we think, been a month. Like, even if they got married the next day, which would be wild.
Yeah.
It's not been long enough.
Yeah, so maybe they conceived the baby beforehand.
Yeah. Interesting.
Anyway, so she didn't want to turn her back on them, but she also didn't want the innocent people to get hurt. So she thought she should try her best to protect everyone.
That's gonna work.
But I think she's also prioritizing Scotland and like her people more so than.
Yes.
So she tells Harald that she is a Scotlander and will die before conceding to the Nordlanders. And I'm like, that's a choice. And she also tells Harald that if he kills those people down there, that is his choice. And their blood is on his hands, not hers. So she's really trying to push that, like, if he makes the decision to attack, the deaths are on him, not her for having the shield up. Yeah. So Tora does something, and it's super smart. It's very brutal and gruesome, but it's still smart. So she shoots lightning at the wall, not the people. So the wall would would bounce. The lightning would bounce off the wall and hit the people. And so
it's kind of her fault because it's her shield. It's not really, obviously, but it is kind of like forcing her magic to harm.
Yeah, it's forcing, it's almost like pushing the ownership of their deaths back on Freya.
Yeah.
So people also like started freaking out and kept running up to the wall to try and be let in, and they kept getting repelled. If they touched her shield, they would bounce off. And Freya is yelling at them to stop touching it. And some people listen, but some don't. And the lightning like rebounds from the shield and hits people, and they're just instantly fried. So like people are dying anyway, even though that's not what she wanted. And Freya knows, like, really there's only one path to take that will save all the people in Scotland from the fate Bjorn's mother saw. So she's really thinking about her being, like, a monster and all that. So she lets go of the wall, bringing down the shield, jumps over the wall, lands and rolls, and then starts running. So Harald orders Tora to, like, go after her. And I don't understand why she doesn't think she'll get repercussions for this. Like, why she doesn't think Snorri will punish her family for this.
Yeah, maybe she just doesn't care anymore. Like, I don't really either. Maybe.
So
it is dumb.
Yeah. So Tora is chasing her. Freya just keeps running. She thinks to herself that if they have nothing to fight over, aka her, they'll stop fighting. It's not how it works, but it's fine. Okay. So she follows the river. I guess there's a river nearby, until she reaches the waterfall. It's convenient. And she's gonna jump. So then a specter appears and puts out its hand to stop Freya from jumping, before somebody grabs her wrist. And it's not Tora, it's Bjorn. And he just tells her where she goes, he goes. And she tries to convince him that this is the only way for her to protect her people. But he tells her that she will find another way. So Tora is there and asks, like, how's this going to go? Because every king and jarl is going to be hunting them. So, like, you can't escape. And I'm just wondering, like, did nobody else think to chase? Like, nobody else is coming? It's like, yeah, they can handle it.
Yeah.
So Bjorn just, like, does this double bluff and throws his axe at her, and that makes her shoot lightning at him, but before the axe connects, he summons it back to his side, and then pulls him and Freya into the river. So, like, he wanted her to shoot at them, and he obviously moves them and quick enough that they don't get hit. And I'm like, what kind of reflexes would you need for that? Because I feel like that's extreme.
Yeah, that's fair.
So they fall into the river. She surfaces and she can't find Bjorn. And like he's not holding on to her anymore. She can't hear anything because the falls are so close. And I'm like, how deep is this river? Like can Tora still see them? Would she not try and lightning him again? I don't know.
Well, you can just lightning the water and they'd all die.
So she actually looks under the water for Bjorn, but like it's too churny and bubbly, she can't see. Then Bjorn surfaces and just tells her to take a deep breath and he says, take a deep breath and ask Lynn to protect them. And she's like, oh shit. And they go over the falls. And she does do that. So they go over and they are protected as in the drop, but the protection doesn't give air. So like Freya's like struggling to breathe. Yeah, she's like underwater.
Which like she's always drowning. Every time she's in the water, she's drowning.
When else was she even in water?
In the first week when they went to go light the Drakars on fire. Yeah. And then she was drowning because someone was pulling her down, and now she's drowning here. And I'm like, what? She's supposed to be, it's like stated she's a good swimmer, and I'm like, she is always drowning.
Yeah. So they surface, they get to the edge, and Freya's like, dude, you're an idiot. But for some reason in that split second, he made up a very detailed plan. He's like, everybody saw Tora's lightning hit them and throw them into the river, and then they go over the waterfall. So he's like, everyone thinks we're dead now. So he's like, we can go wherever we want and do whatever we want together. And she realizes that Snorri's not going to punish her brother for her dying in battle. And I'm like, maybe for you running away, though.
Yeah. I don't think you can... Well, I guess she can just not know. She can kind of just ignore
I guess.
what actually happens. But also, no body, no crime. Like, if they don't... They're not going to just give up and think she's dead if there's no body.
I agree. But, like, she's finally seeing, now she's like, oh, shit. And she's finally seeing all these possibilities of, like, her and Bjorn living without other people trying to control them. And she asks about his vengeance, and he's like, no vengeance is worth you. And he's like, I'll let it go because you're my present and my future, and I love you. Sorry. So they walk downstream in the shallows to, like, not leave a trail, and Bjorn tells her that the fighting will stop to search the banks for them because Harald came for her, not to sack Grindhill. So, like, essentially they've stopped the battle.
Yes, people will stop dying now.
And he says they have to get where they're going before nightfall. And she's like, where? And he's like, you'll see. So eventually they walk past the cabin he lived in with his mother. So, like, I guess everything is close enough. And it was super isolated and far from people because being around people triggered her gift. So she didn't like being around people. And apparently Snorri only visited when he wanted answers. And because Bjorn was a child of an affair, it was sort of a conflict between Snorri and Ylva. So, like, Snorri never took Bjorn to Halsar either. So he sort of stayed with his mom all the time. His mom also knew about him having god blood, but like also said never speak Tyr's name because if he did, everyone he loved would turn to fire and ash. So, like,
that's a wild
thing
to
is
tell a
but
child.
It's also very similar to her upbringing, right? She was also told never ever say Lynn's name. Yeah. So it's interesting the similarities that exist between them.
Yeah, that's good.
So he tells her that one night they had a visitor and Saga made Bjorn hide in a chest. but he heard the hooded visitor and his mom arguing. So he got out and wanted to defend her. So he muttered Tyr's name, and the axe appeared in his hand, and that frightened him. So he dropped it and set fire to their cabin.
So this is where I was like, oh, he's to blame.
His mother dying. So the roof collapsed and a beam hit him, and he obviously was rendered unconscious. But when he woke up, he was on a boat for Nordaland, and his mom was gone.
I'm on a boat. Sorry.
So he leads her to this cave, and there are supplies in there and a hot spring. And he tells her that it's actually where he comes to be alone, like regularly. And his mom helped build it with him when he was little, like as a little hideaway. And like I think she's the one who made the hot spring a hot spring. Like I think she used runes or something.
Oh yeah, smart.
And Freya's starting to think about like what they've done now. She like I guess the original adrenaline of like running and having this plan where we're dead is starting to like she's starting to think about it. And she doesn't want Bjorn to regret abandoning his vengeance for her. And I'm like, man, these people in vengeance, like, it's all they care about.
Yeah.
But he tells her that meeting her made him realize he wanted a life ruled by more than just hate. And that when he closes his eyes, all he sees is her face. And it's just so cute. So cute.
So cute.
And she tells him that it's always been him for her, and she loves him and wants no future without him by her side. So
they don't even
not
know
really.
each other.
No, they don't. But I guess they don't really need to.
Just got rockin' bods.
So they kiss then, and she wants sex immediately, so just starts taking clothes off. Takes her clothes off.
Yeah.
And he growls when he sees her naked, of course. And then they get into the hot spring. And I'm like, I appreciate a good hot spring, but is that really the first, like, where you would want your first time with a new partner? Like a water-based activity?
Like, what other runes did his mom put there?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Anyway, so they're gonna have sex in the water for their first time, which is okay, I guess, fine. So she touches him and asks why he never let her touch him when they fooled around before, because he would always push her hand away, and he tells her he didn't want to take from her, not knowing if he could return it equally. So like he didn't want her to touch him if he didn't know if he could touch her back. Like, he didn't want her to give him an orgasm if he couldn't do it back.
Yeah, but that one time he gave her an orgasm. It's like, why not then?
I don't know.
I get everything is about
her.
Things being taken from her. And he doesn't want to do that again. He doesn't want to be like all of these other shitty guys.
So that obviously that makes her love him more, because everyone in her life has taken from her and he's the only one that refused to take and to try and give instead. So like he puts her on an edge, like a ledge, I guess, like a natural ledge, and like licks her until she comes. And like it's the first time that's ever happened to her.
Did his mom put this ledge? Sorry, it's in my head and I can't get rid of it.
And so I guess she feels like this is what it's supposed to feel like, to be worshipped by a lover and not used as a means to an end. Because like Vragi was the only other person that touched her, and all he did was like he got off, but she never let her.
Yeah.
So he penetrates her and she comes again, and apparently it's so wild she could see color.
She couldn't see color before.
She just sees color. And then he tells her he will kill anyone who tries to take her away from him. And, like, she is loving it. She's like, yeah. And then he keeps calling her Love as, like, a pet name. And she loves that, too. So I guess they finish and start talking about their plans. So they're planning on leaving the cave in the morning. I guess they're going to sleep in the cave overnight. And she wonders, like, where they should go. And Bjorn's like, I don't want to go too far south because I don't want to overheat. So, like, he doesn't want to go to, like, a deserty type of place. And he does want a bit of winter. So, like, he still wants there to be seasons. And she just imagines them building a life and a family. And there's, like, a farm. That's, like, that was her growing up. But, like, she can't picture Bjorn as a farmer.
It's like, fair. He's a fucking warrior.
So he just says, like, let's just get out of Scotland. Like, that's sort of the main idea. And let's also keep our magic to ourselves for a while. Like, let's not, like, brandish that about so people don't talk.
Yeah.
And she asks what the plan is after that. And he just gets hot and heavy again and lays her out on the cave floor for round 2. And he's like, I want to have sex with you every morning and every night. And this, I mean, it is fair. But it also stresses her out because she's like, he's not really answering the question. And she's just sort of worried, like, does he want a different life than her? But he lies next to her. And he just says he wants...
He lies. He lies.
But he does say, he's like, I want to see you happy in a house I built, fat on food I've hunted and grown. And he's like, that you teach me because I don't know anything about farming. And I want to see you fat with my children and growing gray. That's what he wants. And she's like, oh, good. Because she was sort of worried because she didn't want to spell out what kind of life she wanted. And she was concerned that he wasn't envisioning the same life. And she was worried that, like, oh, he's not thinking of the same thing as me. But this sort of confirms that he is. He is envisioning sort of the same future. Yeah. And she just says, like, are you sure you want to give up this life? And he says, there is no life without you. Yeah. And then they have sex again with her on top this time. And it's like, oh, she trusts him. And I'm just like, oh, boy. Like, even at that time, I was like, oh, some sort of hammer is going to drop, or shoe is going to drop, or whatever. Yeah. So then they go to sleep. And the next morning, she wakes up and gets in the water, like the hot spring, and unbraids her hair. And then she starts to feel guilty that her brother and Ingrid will think she's dead. I'm just like, can you just stop thinking about them for a minute?
Yeah. You know what? In the next book, she doesn't think about them at all.
Until that moment.
Yeah.
But then she also starts feeling bad for the people of Scotland. Because she's like, oh, I abandoned everyone for my own selfish reasons. And I was supposed to protect them. I'm just like, whoa, girl, really?
Yeah.
And Bjorn wakes up then and sees that sees like her look on her face and sees like, he can tell she looks guilty and says like, they don't deserve your guilt. And like, they really don't. Like, she's not the queen of Scotland. She's not dedicated her life to protecting Scotland. That's not her role. So like, I don't know why she's feeling guilty for abandoning the people when they're not her people.
Yeah.
They're adjacent to her. That's like me saying I need to protect all Canadians because I'm Canadian. And I'm like, yeah, no.
It is different in their world though, where like that is their thing. But I'm like, wouldn't it be protecting Snorri's people? Like, it's to your Jarl, really. It's not... Because he's still going to fight all of the other Jarls that are against joining his kingdom. So it's like, I just...
Yeah.
I don't get it.
So he's just like, these people don't deserve your guilt. And she just says, like, they're your people too. They rely on you to protect them because you're a warrior. And, like, doesn't it bother you that, like, we're just leaving them all behind? And he says, like, no. He's like, they lived without me for years. And they will again. Because, like, without you around, there's no threat from Nordaland. And she finds it odd that, like, she just finds it odd that he's not concerned for anyone's safety.
Yeah.
And she's like, thinking to herself, she's like, why wouldn't he miss, like, his family and friends? And then she realized, like, he really only has Liv and his brother.
Yeah.
And she just asks, like, are you gonna miss your brother at least? And he's like, yeah, but now Leif is gonna become the Jarl because he'll be the heir. And that's...
It's like everything his mother
and he's
wanted.
like, and that's better for him and for Scotland because Leif is actually a Scotlander in a way that he isn't.
Yeah.
And he's like...
Because, like, even when he was living there, he was living on the outskirts with his mother. Like, so he never really had that connection. So I get what he's saying, I guess.
Yeah. So he spent so many years in Nordaland and, like, spoke and thought differently because of it. So he just doesn't feel like he is a real Scotlander. And, like, she doesn't... This is sort of where I think her brain goes off the rails a bit. Because 100%. She doesn't think he cares about the fact that they're abandoning his people. And she wants him to explain. And, like, she's getting agitated and angry, but doesn't really understand why. So, like, she doesn't understand why she's stuck on this point, even though he explained it to her already. So, like, I don't...
Like, just because you're right about something doesn't mean that you're not losing it along the way.
Like...
Because that's what's happening to her.
Like, I don't understand. He explained it to you. Why are you still... Why is this point sticking in your brain? So he tries to tell her that, like, she is his future and he wants to leave his past behind. And she's like, you're hiding something. I want to know. And she's like, I'm not going to leave until you tell me the truth, like, what you're hiding. And I guess she's thought that he's been hiding something for a while, but hasn't, like, pressed him on it. And, like, has it even been in her head?
Not that I have noticed, but I don't know.
Yeah, I don't remember, like...
I don't think we ever get this.
But apparently it is. Apparently she's like, oh my god, you've been hiding something this whole time. And she's like, sure. I'm not going to leave with you until I know what these truths are. And she's like, if you don't tell me, I'm going to go back to Snorri. And he just says, like, you don't understand. If you go back, he will... ... So, like...
What will he do?
Yeah. And she's just like, what will he do? And Bjorn's like, it's complicated. I'll explain everything. But right now, we just have to get out of here. Like, in his brain, they're on a time crunch and they need to leave. But in her brain, she's like, no, I need to know the truth before we go.
Yeah. It's like, maybe you shouldn't have stopped here. Maybe you should have went further than this.
So she storms out, refusing to leave, and comes face to face with King Harald.
What?
Bum, bum, bum. So Harald is glad that she's alive. He's like, oh, Freya, I'm so glad you're alive, but I shouldn't have doubted Bjorn to keep the two of you alive. I knew he'd have a plan. And then he speaks to Bjorn directly and tells him that his actions were too risky. And Freya's like, shit. Maybe Bjorn's been lying to me. So Harald continues that Bjorn keeps changing the plan. And Freya sort of, like, asks / yells at Bjorn. Like, are you a Scotlander or a Nordlander? And she did sort of ask him that a little bit in the conversation they were having beforehand. And he tells her he's a Nordlander. So he's been a traitor this whole time. He hasn't been on Skaland's side. He's been on Nordland's side. He's been on King Harald's side this entire time.
Who would have thunk it?
So she calls him... I mean, we predicted this.
Yes, before we read this.
We predicted this in week 1.
Yes.
So she calls him a traitor. She was like, you knew that I was accusing Ylva this whole time of being a traitor and doing all those things. And the whole time it was you. And Bjorn's like, no, it wasn't me that spoke with Harald. It was... ... But Harald, I guess, interrupts him. Which I'm like...
But he doesn't know.
What?
He doesn't know
Harald.
who it was. No. Bjorn doesn't know.
I don't know. He says he spoke with ... Maybe he was talking about...
Yeah.
He's talking about himself, who he spoke with.
Oh, sorry.
So
yes,
he's
yes,
like,
yes.
I didn't speak with Harald that night. I spoke with ... But then Harald hops in before Bjorn can explain himself. And I'm like, dude, you're dumb. Why would you hop in on an argument that you're not a part of?
Yeah.
But he tells her that it's because of Bjorn that she's alive. That Bjorn convinced Harald that she could change her fate and not leave bodies everywhere. But also that, like, Bjorn wanted her to come to the decision to leave Snorri herself, not by force. So, like, everything has been because Bjorn has, like, urged them to let her do it herself. And Bjorn just pipes back in then. He's like, I wanted to tell you the truth. But, like, we've been planning this revenge plan for years. And he wanted to try and get her away from it so she could listen to reason. But, like, Freya just twists that and gets more angry. And he just turns to Harald and calls him father and asks to speak to Freya alone. And that really makes her mad because she's like, that's not your father. Snorri is your father. And he's like, no, that piece of shit is not my father. And, like, I hate him. And, like, rightfully so. Snorri is not a good guy.
Yeah.
And, like, she's shocked. And I just don't understand, like, I understand that that Harald has been, like, the bad guy of Nordaland. And, like, you know, he's the bad king. He's the enemy. But, like, so far, all she's seen so far has been, like, a reasonable-ass person. And, like, Bjorn is a reasonable person. And he calls him father, like, but she's seen Snorri be a jackass constantly. So, like, I don't understand why she's so hell-bent on Bjorn, like, respecting that Snorri is his father. When Snorri has treated both her and Bjorn like pieces of shit.
Yeah. I know. I felt the same way. I was like, why do we need to have this conflict? Why can't she just be like, oh, that makes sense?
Like, I understand why she could be angry at Bjorn for lying, but I'm annoyed that she's like, ugh, I can't believe you're siding with them.
Yeah.
When, like, he's literally been treated like shit over here. So, she's just shocked because she's been told her whole life that, like, Harald kidnapped Bjorn and kept him prisoner and kept him as a thrall. And murdered his mother. But Harald is like, actually, there's more to that story. He was like, you only know, like, the twisted up Snorri version, but, like, that's not the real one. And he's just, Bjorn just says, like, I need you to trust me. But she's just so pissed thinking that, like, everything he's said to her has been a lie. And he's like, no, everything I told you last night was true. Like, I did want to take you away.
Yeah, so this is the other part of it. Because, like, he's just like, yeah, I was going to take you away. So was he ever going to tell her?
No.
about any of this? Or was he just gonna, like, take her somewhere that no one would ever find them and they just live out a happy life? Like, what the fuck?
Well, I feel like I do think he would have told her. I think he probably would have waited until they were on a different continent, like safer, and then he probably would have been told her and also been like, "Oh, you can't leave me. We don't know anybody."
Gross.
Anyway, so like he's like, "I was trying to take you away," but then Harald is like, "You swore an oath to protect Nordland, and you're throwing all that away for lust?" Like, no one realizes this is true love. But Bjorn retaliates that, like, he's fulfilled his oaths. Like, he swore to destroy Snorri and bring him low and prevent him from being king by taking the shield maiden. He's done that. And he says, like, none of those oaths require me to bring her back to Nordland. And Harald is like, my boy, you know that if you really want her, you can keep her. And he's like, she could be the queen of Nordland one day if that's what you want. You just have to let me know. Yeah.
Keep her.
And Freya hears that word keep and the fact that, like, they're sort of talking about her as if she isn't there, and she starts to, like, spiral. And Bjorn's like, if we do that, you're just going to use her. And he was like, I want to bring her somewhere where she can decide her own fate. And Harald's like, I wouldn't use her. He's like indignant. But Bjorn's like, but he also says, like, you should have told her the truth. Like, maybe she would have chosen to protect Nordland if you told her the truth. Like, if she's half the woman you say she is, but instead you denied her the choice. And, like, it is fair, but, like, all she hears is use her. And she's like, geez, bud, these people are no worse than anyone else. And, everybody is shit towards her. And she just yells out that, like, she's just really angry. And just lets it get the better of her. And she yells that she curses them all to Helheim. And she hopes they never see Valhalla. And that is a severe curse.
Yeah.
So, roots come out of the ground and grab at everybody digging into their bodies. And Bjorn, Harald, Tora, and Skade, like, fend off the vines with their magic. And then the roots are gone, and they're the only ones left alive. All of the soldiers Harald brought with him are dead. Like, all the ones that came with him to this clearing. So they all understand now what the gods meant when they said child of two bloods. So again, I predicted this. So she has two different gods' blood in her, as we saw sort of in the story with her mom. Lynn's, of course, and Hel's. Hel is the first daughter of Hel. So Harald is, like, amazed, and he's, like, sort of woo, you know, because he's like, this is your destiny to use this power. And Bjorn's like, you're not a weapon, and tells Freya to run. So she does. She runs into the woods. And she just feels sick because she just killed a shitload of people. And then also, like, she denied them the opportunity of going to Valhalla, where they all would have gone, which is, like, sort of the equivalent to Christian heaven, I guess. It's where great heroes go in afterlife.
Yeah, and they get to fight again in the final battle. But if you go to the hell, it's not bad. You're not tortured. You just don't get to fight in that final battle.
So it's a magnificent hall in Norse mythology where Odin houses the slain warriors who are deemed worthy. It's a place of feasting, fighting, and preparation for the end of the world, Ragnarok. Valhalla is located in Asgard, the realm of the gods. So, yeah. It seems it's for warriors specifically.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's why, like she wasn't trying to shove a blade into her mother's hand as she died, because she's not a warrior, so it was fine for her to go to the Hell realm.
But they're chosen by the Valkyries, And it's specifically for warriors. I feel like we should have looked this up beforehand, but it's fine. Anyway, so, like...
They do explain some of it at some point, but not really well enough.
Anyway, so, like, she's just, like, feels sick that she literally denied all those warriors a chance at Valhalla. So she's running, and she trips over a root and weirdly runs into Steinen. And she's like, I need help. And she's like, Bjorn is allied with Harald. And Steinen is like, yeah, I know. Like, I've always known. And her voice has changed to have a Nordland accent. And then she blows smoke in Freya's face, causing her to pass out. So, like, Steinen is in on it the whole time.
That's the woman that she kept seeing. Fun.
So, she wakes up tied to a bed. And, like, everything comes flooding back. And Harald is next to her and tells her they're on a Drakkar on their way back to Nordland. And she's like, let me go. And she's like, I can curse you. Like, she hasn't even come to terms with it. And she's already like, I'm going to use this. But he's like, I don't think you will. Because he's like, I saw your face. And I know you feel guilty for killing my men and denying them Valhalla.
Yeah.
And then Bjorn comes in and she just wants to tear his eyes out. But obviously she can't because she's all tied up. And, like, Tora tells her to chill. And Bjorn tells Tora to butt out. And then Harald tells Bjorn to chill out. So, like, it's just a free-for-all in here. And he also tells Bjorn, like, Freya is a threat because she's mad at you. So, like, she's tied up because of you. So, like, don't go starting shit.
Yeah. This is all on him because he should have told her.
So, he also tells both of them that she will not be harmed. Because Bjorn, like, doesn't want her harmed. And that in Nordland, she will be a free person. So, but he's like, I would like to convince you to fight for me since you're, like, super powerful. But, like, he's saying no pressure. And she doesn't believe that. She's like, no, man, we're going to get there and I'm going to be put in, like, a prison. And she just knows she's going to be a prisoner for her whole life. Just like Bjorn. And I guess she says that part out loud because Harald is like, trust me, Bjorn has never been a prisoner for one day of his life. And she's like thinking she doesn't believe it. And that she's like, well, maybe he wasn't treated like a prisoner, but like he was definitely poisoned by Harald's words. And I'm like,
it's her like deep-seated idea that he's just bad and Scotland is good. It's just like so... It's a wild stance.
So, like, she doesn't want to be used by Harald to increase his own power or take the life of any innocent Scotslanders. So, like, she wants to do what she can to keep those people safe. So, she just jumps into the sea. And I'm like, how? Because I thought she was tied up. And, like, I reread that whole section, and it didn't say anything about removing the ties.
No, I think her arms are tied up. I think it says that, like, she struggles to swim because she can't use her arms.
Maybe.
Or that's how I took it, because I just assumed that
so,
she was just
so
kicking.
it does say that she kicks on her back and she's struggling. So I'm assuming her arms are still tied. But, like, how does that not... Like, I don't understand how that prevented her from getting up. You know what I mean? Like, she was like, let me go, and acted as if she couldn't get up. If she was only tied at the wrists, she could absolutely sit up, move off the bed, but she didn't.
Yeah.
So she tries to swim for shore because she can still see it. And she's kicking on her back because her hands are still tied and she's close to the shore. But then, of course, Bjorn catches up to her and, like, she is fuming at him to let her go. And she calls him a fucking liar. But he's not going to let her go back to Snorri and tells her that she, above all, should know the lengths someone goes to protect their family. And that pisses her off because she's like, Snorri and Leif are your family. Scotland is family, no matter what poison Harald whispered. And she was like, he stole you from them. And Bjorn yells at her like, no, he saved me. And he was like, it was Snorri that tried to kill my mother. and that Ylva convinced him it was necessary so that Leif would inherit. But his mother escaped the fire and fled to Nordland, where Harald had been protecting them ever since. And he says, it was my mother that was speaking, that he had spoken to that night in Fjaltindr, the one that he convinced that Freya could change her fate, who in turn then convinced Harald. So, like, I put in a little question mark there of whether they were together. They are, like, we learned sort of at the beginning that she is technically the queen, but she doesn't visit court often because
kind of the same
because she doesn't like peopling.
Yeah.
And Freya is just confused because she was like, I thought Saga was the specter that I keep getting visits from. But, like, apparently it's not.
He's like, that's just his
he's like, Snorri made all that up to, like, fit his narrative, but it's not.
Which is, like, fair, because he's been making some dumb decisions based on nothing.
And Bjorn just, like, begs her to he's like, just come to Nordland, talk to my mom, hear the story and everything like that. Like, you know, he's really trying to get her to just agree to come willingly. And she doesn't want to understand, but she does agree to get back on the ship and sail to Nordland. And she's like, I'm going to find answers and also learn to control my fate.
From his
the
mom.
End. So you'll see what I mean. It's sort of cliffhangery because we've gotten all of these truths come out about Bjorn and, like, whose side he's really on and everything like that. So we are getting something there, but also from, like, we also have still a bunch of unanswered questions. So it is a cliffhanger, but it's not at the same time.
Yeah. It's not happily ever after right now. I guess definitely not. One thing too. It's like they're mad at each other.
Yeah.
So yeah. I liked it. Some of the stuff we kind of were like, it seems like this is gonna happen. I don't know why nobody's questioning these things. But you know, it was interesting, and I like the world and the magic. And we read the second book.
It was. I will say though, like, so book 1 at least felt very predictable. Like, we predicted a lot of the shit that was going to happen. Not everything, but like,
I didn't think that Steinem was going to be bad. Like, looking back on it now, her attitude shift was wild, and I was like, did the author just decide halfway through the book to make her part of Harald's group? I did think week 2 or whatever, when she saw someone talking to Harald, I thought that it was going to be Bjorn's mother then, and I was like, maybe that's the thing. But then
no,
it wasn't. It was Steinem. But apparently she's alive, and it's like, what? So he's on this vengeance after Snorri for killing his mother, but he didn't actually kill his mother. And really, the fire was the issue. Like, he almost killed her.
Yeah. So what is his vengeance for?
Who is he? Yeah. It just was like, this seems, if she's alive, couldn't you just run off and be happy away from people? Like,
yeah.
And finally, then now he's like, after all these years of wanting vengeance, now he's just like, I would have left everything for Freya. And it's like, really?
Yeah.
You've been planning forever. You came back and then you were just swayed by a pretty face.
That's essentially what it was.
And, like, she actually becomes a monster when she's enraged. Like, what? You can't just be like, it's fine because she's pretty.
Well, I mean, Harald does say that. He's like, you've dropped it all just for...
Oh, yeah.
For her. Like, you don't know her yet.
Yeah. It is a bit intense on that. And I'm like, I don't know. I feel like they could have developed their relationship. I don't know. I don't know how you would, though. It's just like this whole book was a few weeks, it seems like. And it's like they really didn't have the development. But I get, like, lots of books are just insta-love.
It does sort of feel a little bit like that.
Yeah. But yeah. I did like it. I read the second one immediately. The second one, I
think
I liked
better. I agree with you. I definitely enjoyed the second one more. Definitely less predictable, more twisty-turnies.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess, yeah.
So, that's us for this week and this month. So, if you want to get in touch with us and share your thoughts on anything you heard in our episodes, or if you have any book suggestions, you can reach out to us by email at coffeeandcoread@gmail.com, or on Instagram or Facebook at coffeeandcoread, and coffee.coread on TikTok.
So next week we are starting a new book, Phantasma by Katie Smith. We're reading chapters 1 to 12. So make sure to follow along, and if you're enjoying our chats, don't forget to follow, rate, and review wherever you get our content. Thanks for listening, everyone, and we'll see you on the next page.